this is Leah from Mommyish, and I thought today as I was working on one of the month of challenges that I would give a tutorial because I was about to do something, and then I thought, hey, I could teach a tutorial on this. You might not need the tutorial on this, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a go anyway. I was wanting to add another flower, which is exactly identical to this one, but I wanted it to be a different color. And I have different ways that I like to recolor things, and I thought it might be fun to share, especially when you're working within a layout. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in to this area so I can really see this specific element. Now the first thing I'm going to do is, because I duplicated a layer that already had a shadow, I'm going to turn the shadow off of it. Now I've selected this layer, and what I'm going to do is choose my magic wand tool. Now I'm going to deselect sample all layers because I only want to sample the layers here, like these little flower petals. Now, depending on the color, you can change the tolerance to kind of pick up more. So I'm going to change my tolerance to 60 so it'll really not be so picky about the colors that it's taking. You can see there it's selecting quite a bit. So what this has done is it's just selected the color of the petals. If I zoom in a little more, I'll notice that it's not grabbing that area. So instead of trying to select because the tolerance is set a little high, I'm going to just maybe take my lasso tool and make sure that it's the adding, because I'm wanting to add to the selection, and then I just kind of draw out this little blip here. So now I have it. It doesn't matter if it's going over the sides. In fact, I'm going to do select, modify, and I'm going to expand by 1 pixel. All right. Now it is starting to take some of the black. That's okay because it is black and it's desaturated, and the way I recolor, it's not going to really matter that much. Now I'm going to create a layer above this, and I'm going to make this layer, I'm just going to take a little paintbrush tool and I'm going to plop a color on it, which is going to be the color that I want the petals to be. So I'm going to go to my hues here, and I think I'm going to go ahead, I want it to be like the purpley color, like this. Add a little bit more purple. I'm just going to plant it over the top. It's no big deal, so don't stress, that's going to be deleted afterwards. Now I'm going to go ahead, because I have this area selected, and whenever you have the area selected, like a selection, it's going to create a mask whenever you go to your adjustments. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my hue and saturation adjustment layer, and you'll be able to see there that it did create this little mask. Again, we're only putting the purple there as a guide for color. So once I click on hue and saturation and it pulls up the properties of this layer, I'm going to look at it and say, okay, this is mostly yellow, right? So I want to scroll down and go to the yellows. And then I'm going to be dragging it around a bit to get it to where I want it to be. Now, obviously, that yellow was a very saturated color, so I'm going to need to desaturate it to try to get my tone to be proper or right. So I'm just toning it down a bit, but also I want to decrease the lightness because I want it to be a little darker. Once you darken something, it has a tendency of desaturating, so sometimes you might want to boost the saturation a little bit to get your color just so. I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm going to move it a little bit one way and the other to just make sure. And for me, this seems close enough. I'm pretty happy with how that looks, that purple. Just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that little layer there. I'm going to clip Control-Alt-G down to the flower layer here. And so now I have this this flower that I've recolored because I only offered the one color, and then it's done. So now I have this little purple flower here at the bottom instead of a yellow flower. Now, if you even want to go further to make an element look different, to really not appear like, okay, well, it's the same thing and she just recolored it, oh well. Sometimes if you play with the, let's say we'll transform it and flip horizontal, well, I'm going to have to still kind of change it, but at least it's flipped the two sides so they're opposing, or maybe I did that wrong. I might have done that wrong. I think I did it right though. Another way to even change it more, we're going to zoom in again. And we're going to use the puppet warp tool. So I'm going to just take the puppet warp. I anchor the middle, because this is the part that I don't want it to move at all. But I do want to move the petals a bit. So when I want to move the petals, I just kind of put it to the top, or I guess the end part and the center. Now then what this allows me to do is just kind of move the little flower petals just so it's not a huge difference by any means, but it's just enough to kind of make it where the eye is like, oh, well, that's not exactly the same flower, is it? No, it's not. It's totally new. So, totally new, not totally new, but there you go. So that was the original. It's just a slight change to make it look a little different. Not a big deal, but just enough to kind of make it, you know, not seem like the exact same thing a zillion times. I'm also going to add another little button. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this layer, this little button down here, and I'm going to move one up here because I feel like I need a little color. Now I'm going to have this be the green that's here present in this this kit, or it's like a greeny yellow. I'm going to change the color of this one using a style. All right, so we're going to pull up our layer styles and go ahead and make sure that you've set it to reset to default list, and we're going to do a color overlay. I have the color chosen, and it can be hue or color on this one. It's going to have a very minimal difference. As you can see there, it's a very slight saturation difference. The color is slightly less saturated than the button color it is itself, though it's a bit dark, right? So how can we fix that? Well, I'm going to go to gradient overlay again, and this time I'm going to choose maybe a 70 gray. Does that make sense? Like 70, not quite the 50, which doesn't change anything, but 70. All right, so there we go. Now I'm going to play with the blend mode of this. I might add vivid light or linear light just to brighten it up a bit. As you can see, it maintains the detail by doing that. And you'll see that the green color there almost totally blends away into the button color. And that's how I know where I want it. So this is without anything. This is adding the linear light and just moving it up, 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 up until, oop, it seems like it's blended in, and then I know that's the color that I want. All right, I'm going to go ahead and delete that green, and now I'm going to rasterize this layer because it's the color I want it to be. So rasterize layer style, and then I'll just add the little shadow on it happily. Like, there's my little shadow, so now I have a little green button up there. All right, so look, we have a green one, we have a pink one. I made that one black earlier, using the same process really. So my tip then is that if you don't have Creative Cloud that allows you to stack color effects, because for example, we're going to go back into the same button. I'm going to duplicate it again, just so you can see on a different element, or not a different element, but a different example of the same element. We're going to pull him over here. I'm going to zoom in very close, very close. All right. Now, in Creative Cloud, you can add multiple hue adjustment layers, meaning that when we reset this list to default again, for any style effects that you can layer on top of one another, there's a little plus sign, and one of those is color overlay. So that means that, for example, if I wanted to use the linear light to lighten up something, again, I say 60, make it a little bit brighter. I can also add another color overlay that is color itself and choose a color to go on top of it. Now this is without the linear light. See, it's darker, lighter, just like that. Now, if you don't have Creative Cloud, there is not this option to add multiple layers. So you can cheat, not really cheat, but use your tools by using the gradient overlay. Instead of it being a gradient from one color to another color, you simply make it a solid gradient, which is just one color. So let's say, like I had here, 60. And we'll put it here too, 60. Now, if you really like the effect that you've gotten, for example, this is linear light, and I'm just going to kind of tone it down. You could save this as a new style. We'll take away the color overlay there. You could save that as a style to use over and over again, just to slightly brighten without losing the detail of the element. So yeah, or darken for that case. So let's say I want to make this black, like a charcoal. So I'm taking that color there. Now I'm going to take my gradient overlay, and instead of it being higher than 50, we're going to go lower. So we're going to go down a bit. Doesn't that look cool, like the gradient, actually? I'm a fan. All right. And you can just move it down a bit. And again, you can either increase or decrease the opacity to whatever you want. All right. So that's the way you can play with your layer styles within Photoshop as you're scrapping to maximize a kit maybe that has only come with one color option and go a little more in depth and have lots of color options, as many as the colors of the rainbow, just by playing with a few little things. So your friends for today are hue, color, and linear light. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please subscribe and have a great day. Bye-bye.